You know, if you've watched a show for any significant amount of time, you know that fungi off-gas. They make a poison called a mycotoxin. What role do those mycotoxins have in cancer, for example? You'll be amazed at my opening today where I do a little bit of teaching. And then, of course, Lindsay's going to be here in the kitchen. Kyle and I are going to answer some questions on today's Know the Cause. How do I get rid of this fungus that makes these poisons, right? And what role in leukemia and other blood diseases do these mycotoxins play? Annie Brandt, my dear friend, she puts on the Integrative Oncology meeting in San Diego that I speak at, and also the Best Answers for Cancer. She's going to be here today. And I assure you folks, tell your friends about Know the Cause. You're learning a lot, all that and more on today's Know the Cause. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. You know, we want to welcome aboard all our new friends in Houston on KUBE and in St. Pete and Fort Lauderdale and so forth. Welcome aboard, folks. There's always new people watching this show, and I know the feeling. I tune into radio shows and home fix-up shows and so forth, and if I get in on the middle of it, I don't exactly know what the house looked like when it started. I want you to understand what I'm doing. This is kind of a series I'm doing on television, extrapolating from my lectures to doctors on fungus's role in ill health. Doctors know a lot about bacteria, a lot about virus, a lot about protozoa, very little about fungus. Ringworm, vaginal yeast, no big deal. And yet I think it can cause cancer. I know it contributes to diabetes, and I published all of this. So what I'm going to do is show you slides within a presentation, an hour presentation I give to doctors for continuing medical education, because I love their faces. Here I am up on a podium looking out at a sea of doctors, and every once in a while you see, wow, I didn't know that. So let me just teach you a little bit today. Fungi aren't the culprits. Fungi off-gas a poison once inside your body or out in our environment, right? Fungi are ubiquitous, they're everywhere. We can't avoid them. We can try and prevent them from getting inside our body, breathing mold, etc., eating these mycotoxins, eating the fungus that makes these poisons, taking antibiotics, which are mold, being careful. So let me show you a presentation. This is kind of two-part presentation. Number one, fungi make poisons. They can be gases, liquids, or solids. Mycotoxins, they're called, are secondary metabolites produced by microfungi that are capable of causing disease and death. I want you to see that. They are capable of causing disease and death in we humans and in other animals. Look, Clinical Microbiological Review, Journal of the American Medical Association, the World Health Organization. These aren't little boys. Huge. Don't you think every one of these doctors that publish these journals go home and say to their wives, honey, you're not going to believe this, but these mycotoxins cause cancer. They do, really, I'm telling you. They cause cancer. And yet our oncologists are totally unaware. Good people. At all my lectures, I've yet to have an oncologist come up to me and say, what a bunch of phooey. They're probably thinking that as they walk away, but at least I'm imparting knowledge in their brain. Maybe every cancer, every diabetic patient should change their diet so they stop feeding this mold and take antifungal drugs. That's my goal with all of this. Then look down below. Thousands of these mycotoxins have been identified, okay? It's just amazing, folks, that there are, I think, 600 or 800 pathogenic fungi, and each one can make 10 or 20 of these poisons. And this is natural. This is not abnormal. That's the way leaves turn brown. That's the way trees get broken down and eliminated, as fungus gets on board. When they fall down, fungus gets on board and gobbles them up, okay? Fungal mycotoxins, here's the next one. This is interesting. Most of them suppress your immune system. So doctors tend to think, well, people don't have a problem with fungus, only if they're immune compromised, or what we call immunocompromised. They all are, if they're exposed to a house that has been leaking, if they're exposed to round after round of antibiotic, if they're alcoholic. These things are suppressing our immune system. So doc, don't tell me it's only AIDS patients or cancer patients receiving chemotherapy that are vulnerable to these fungi. If they're in your house, you're vulnerable. They're suppressing your immune system. Then all are heat stable. You can cook the rice, you can cook the pasta, but you can't cook out the mycotoxins that have already been deposited on the rice or the wheat or the pasta. You're going to eat it. I mean, that's a given. You can cook off the fungus. Boiling degrees, boiling temp will do that. Do you know I've read you cannot autoclave. You can't. Think about the colonoscopy tube, reusable. You know, I'm just sitting here thinking, wait a minute, you can't autoclave that metal tube and totally clean it? I'm thinking out loud. Ew. Okay, next slide. Get this. This is from the British Medical Bulletin, circa 2000. The prime chronic effect of many mycotoxins is the induction of cancer. Huge, folks. Okay, now, based on all of this, you're begging a huge question to me right now. Did you say food, Doug? How are we exposed to these? What food am I eating that may contribute to these things growing in my body and causing ill health? The answer is going to shock many of you. Don't go away. We'll be right back with that answer. Did you know that the yeast that causes vaginal yeast infections is the #1 fungal infections of the male prostate? Now, how would a male get yeast? Folks, intimacy can pass this yeast back and forth. We're not going to talk about that. That's a whole separate show. Right now, we're not going to talk about the antibiotics. We're going to talk about what you're eating, your cereal in the morning, your innocent glass of beer in the evening. Let's go through these quickly. Here's the first one. Fungal exposure diet. Now remember, I give this presentation to doctors, to oncologists. American grain supply is commonly contaminated with fungal mycotoxins, so says the Journal of the American Medical. Corn is universally contaminated with fumonisin, that's a fungus, and to a lesser degree, other fungi and their toxins, so says the Council of Agricultural Science and Technology. Hops, malt, barley. Just take a minute, folks, and go with me on this. Because every American heart, American cancer, American elbow, everybody says alcohol's okay in moderation. That's a glass of wine every night for women, 2 glasses of wine or beers for men. Is it? Okay, go with me. Here again, Council for Agricultural Science and Technology. Alcohol producers often use grains that are too contaminated with fungi and mycotoxins to be used for table food. So the risk is higher that you're consuming more than just alcohol in your beverages. Is that a wow? But it goes on. Okay. This is WebMD, July 22, 2016. A new analysis finds compelling evidence that drinking alcohol can cause at least 7 types of cancer. It found that heaviest drinkers are at the highest risk, but even low drinkers to moderate drinkers, what the American Heart is saying, yeah, go ahead and drink that, are more likely to get certain cancers than non-drinkers. The review of evidence published in the journal Addiction, how fitting is that, also says studies claiming alcohol can help protect the heart should be looked at with skepticism. Thank you. I've been saying that for decades. From a public health perspective, alcohol is estimated to have caused approximately 500,000 deaths from cancer in from 2012 forward. Oncologists don't know that. Oncologists go home, they're stressed out, I would be, and I'd have a glass of wine. I stopped that long ago, alcohol, because I knew it was a mycotoxin. I don't think your glass of wine with Thanksgiving dinner or in moderation, I don't think that's a huge problem, even though they did say even low drinkers have an increased risk of certain cancers. Here's the bottom line. The yeast or the fungus is called brewer's yeast. The poison it makes is called alcohol. The mycotoxin it makes is called alcohol. All I want you to do is think before you unscrew that next bottle of beer and drink it, or have a vodka tonic. Just think, okay? Don't go away. I'll be back with more. Every Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central, I do a Facebook Live show and we answer questions. Kyle is going to join me now to talk about those questions, see if we can address some of them. But before that, into the kitchen we go with Lindsay. Non-dairy milk products. I love them. Watch this.
Growing up, we all had pretty much one option when it came to milk, and it came from a cow's udders. There were a few variations, right? There were skim, low fat, full fat, and then the added flavor of sweetener, chocolate, strawberry, and that was it. All I can say is thank goodness times have changed and our culture is now more aware of the effects of dairy and how industrial scale dairy production cows are being raised. Eek. For one, we know dairy milk has lactose or sugar, and most times, unless organic, these dairy cows are injected with antibiotics and growth hormone, leading to the growth of fungus in us upon our consumption. So what are we to do? There are many delicious non-dairy milk options on the shelves of every grocery store these days. Almond milk, unsweetened vanilla is our family's favorite, is made from water and ground almonds. It is a dairy-free, plant-based milk and does not contain any lactose. It has a creamy, nutty taste and is delicious and usually an easy transition from cow's milk to the non-dairy milks. Our kids go straight from breast milk to almond milk. No cow's milk in between at all. Almond milk is a great source of healthy fats, which helps prevent high blood pressure and heart disease. It also has some protein, fiber, and B vitamins. It doesn't require refrigeration, so you can take it on the road easily with you. And it's a whole lot easier to make yourself than having a cow in your backyard or on your stoop.
Okay, now you'll notice, as per my opening, Kyle Drew is here with me right now. What we want to do, Kyle, we sent out on Facebook a message.
Yep.
If you had one question to ask Doug, what would it be? Well, we didn't get one. We got hundreds of them. And what we're going to do right now is answer some of those. You know, I have been going live on Facebook, trying to answer the really, really important ones. Not that these aren't important, they're all important, but trying to answer the ones that are stat. Hey, Doug, I've just been diagnosed with cancer.
And you've been doing it live.
Yeah, I've been doing it live, and that's fun.
Nice.
It's a rush. Okay, now, let's go to the questions. I recently watched your show on washing the mold from your nostrils. Okay, neti pot or something. I tried to see if it could get rid of my allergy symptoms, runny nose, persistent cough that I've had since the 90s. I've tried everything, and nothing gets rid of my cough. Do you think my lungs could be infected? Wow.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I am not really a neti pot guy, but there are certain ones that you can squeeze and it kind of really flushes the sinuses out. I love that kind of stuff. When it comes to persistent cough, a lot of times you're just having this persistent drip, and sometimes that's because you are constantly being assaulted by fungal mycotoxins that are creating some mucus problems. And so that can be part of it. Squeezing and getting a neti pot and doing that kind of thing is a great idea for some symptomatic relief, but I think you need to deal with it systemically as well. So make sure the diet is on point, make sure the supplements are where they need to be.
Good point, good point. The diet is important because if you feed this fungus, obviously it's going to keep growing back. So no grains, sugars, things of that sort. And then Don Dennis, do you know Don?
No, I don't know
Wonderful
Don.
guy, Atlanta, Georgia, ENT doctor, has Citra drops, Citra spray.
Oh, yeah.
And boy, does that work well. You might try a bottle of that for a few weeks and see if that helps also. Good question, thank you. Linda, how do I get rid of fungus?
Speaking of.
Angie and Maga. How do I get rid of fungus and what kills fungus? Diet, do you think, Kyle, is one? You've been experimenting with diet.
Yeah. We'll talk about that on another show, but the fact is there are a lot of things that kill fungus. I remember the first day I ever had Doug Kaufman on the radio show with me. Doug was my hero. He was in Oklahoma City. He's sitting there in front of me in the radio station. I didn't even know my own name because I was so nervous.
Really?
And I said, yeah, I was pretty nervous. And I said, what can people take at the health food store? If they go to the health food store, what can they find? And Doug said, well, pretty much everything is antifungal at the health food store. And I laughed thinking he was joking. It turns out, over and over again, supplement after supplement, vitamin, mineral, herb, almost everything that works is antifungal. But it does begin with the diet. A lot of people have thought that they could begin with just taking a handful of supplements or even diflucan, nystatin, all of the rest. Truth is, unless you get the diet right, which if the diet is the Kaufman antifungal diet, it is loaded with natural antifungals from berries, from citrus, from vegetables, and it helps starve it by being a low sugar diet. that combination is unbeatable.
It's weird to think you can starve fungus from your diet, because you can't bacteria. You got to take an antibiotic.
Yeah.
Or if you got a viral problem like herpes growing all over your lip, you've got to take an antiviral. But you can starve fungus, and that's what diet does. From vitamin C to amino acids to all sorts of things. Kill fungus.
Huge.
Yeah. What kills fungus? That's it. And Ava asks, can blood cancer be related to fungus? Okay, what's his name? Mark Bielski, MD, New York, once wrote, and I quoted it in my now 15-year-old, the fungus link to cancer, the germ that causes cancer. Mark Bielski wrote, whether acute or chronic, yeasts are intimately involved in cases of cancer and blood cancers, leukemia.
Leukemia, lymphoma, multiple myeloma.
Yeah.
These are what I used to deal in when I was a pharmaceutical rep. It was mostly the blood cancers.
So you know what will cure cancer.
Well, yeah, I know.
These drugs, they give you stats, right? They're not real good at killing all cancers, but sometimes you hit a home run.
I know, and occasionally you'll see a book like there was one that I brought you from like 1934, like Cancer from My Perspective, and it came right out and said leukemia, lymphoma, didn't mention multiple myeloma, but he meant blood cancers. And he showed an intimate link between mycotoxins, which are fungal poisons, and these blood cancers. Since then, along with you, it changed my life.
Yeah, I'm lecturing a lot to doctors now about the cause of cancer. One that they have grossly overlooked is these fungal mycotoxins. So I hope that helps everyone. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for your questions. Keep them coming to our Facebook at knowthecause.com. For the past couple of years, I've spoken at the Best Answer for Cancer symposium out in San Diego. A couple of doctors came up to me this year and said, I saw you here last year, and I am now using antifungal approaches for my patients. And Doug, I've got to tell you something. They seem to be working. Home run. Thank you, God, for that. I thank Annie Brandt for that, because she has put me in front of the doctor. She runs this symposium. For the past dozen years, this is her baby, short of Chia Pet, who's down here in front of her. This is her baby. Annie has put me in front of hundreds of doctors who are now knowing that fungus plays a role in their patients' cancer. Thank you for that, Annie.
Well, I thank you for coming and shedding light on it.
Somebody had to do it, and I thank you for letting me do that. Folks, Annie she's a benevolent person. She has patient support through her organization. She has a couple of studies ongoing, major studies right now on insulin potentiation, and then Artemisia and vitamin C, ARTC, studies like that. Physician involvement, education, this is what she does. And I talked to her a short time ago about how she does all of this. She needs our help. She needs our support. So you'll see a link on our homepage, knowthecause.com. I have never gotten behind any philanthropic organization, any 501c3. I don't have one myself. And Annie and I have spoken about this. I'm not taking 10 cents for this. I want Annie to benefit because of the studies, all the doctors she's bringing together, and the unique approach she has to cancer, being a 16-year survivor. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're amazing. She's written a book called The Healing Platform. The Healing Platform is really dedicated. The patient can build their own cure based on all the knowledge that's been known, for the past dozen years in this book. Annie, when I walked into that San Diego meeting and saw the whole hotel that you had rented, I got to thinking, how does she do that? And so Annie and I had a couple of meetings and talks, and it's difficult, but you're doing it. I hope my viewers will participate and help you out. Tax deductible? You're a 501c3?
Tax deductible, 501c3.
Tell us a little bit about the organization. How long has it been around? What does it do?
So Best Answer for Cancer Foundation was started in 2006. We are the only hybrid nonprofit that I know of, hybrid in that we support both physicians and the patient and general public with knowledge and conferences, and if we have it, funding. Unlike most nonprofits, we have no formal source of funding because we don't necessarily back big pharma, the pharmaceutical industry. We recognize the pharmaceutical industry, we recognize the conventional options, but we believe that there are so many other options that can help in treatment for cancer and chronic disease, And so that's what we do. We educate in those options, and we try and help patients. There are literally no sources of funding for alternative care for patients that don't have any other options. So I think that's just such a shame. And
It is, but you're doing something about it.
we're trying.
The physician education part of this is called integrative oncology. The symposium that I also speak at, thanks to Annie, is Answers for Cancer Summit. Answers for Cancer Summit. But you can go to their website and get a bunch of information, and more importantly, folks, this is free to you. If you're looking for a doctor who looks at cancer a little bit differently, has attended one of the many symposiums that Annie's put on throughout the country or that I've spoken at, Best Answer, singular, bestanswerforcancer.org is the place to go. And then Annie, the 501c3 enables people to donate to your organization tax-free. Folks, I gotta tell you, I had a neighbor a couple of years ago knock on my door, a great couple, who wanted me to donate a few $1,000s so they could get support to go on a run for an organization that funds the pharmaceutical industry with breast cancer funds. This is not what Annie does. Annie's money goes to cover everything she's spending for, but more importantly, to put information in doctors' heads and information in cancer patients' heads about how the two of them can get together. Cancer is a thumbprint. It's unique, isn't it? Not every one patient is going to benefit from every one therapy.
And you're unique in that you recognize that. Cancer, if we consider we're all individuals, then our answer should be individual. I shouldn't do the same thing Mary did or Sue did, and you shouldn't do the same thing John or Bill did. We should all have our own unique answers for cancer.
And that's exactly what your organization does. Bestanswerforcancer.org. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your donation.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Wasn't that amazing in the opening of the show? The prime reason some of these mycotoxins are here are to induce cancer in us. There are a couple of mycotoxins that actually do that. Thank you so much, Annie Brandt. The ending of the show was just landed perfectly. Annie is a dear friend of mine. Keep her in your thoughts, folks. She needs help growing that company, and we can help her. Also, Kyle was here. Thank you so much, Kyle. Folks, when you talk about leukemia or blood cancers, look at the room the person spends a third of their life in. Look at their bedroom and check to see if mold is causing some chemical aberrations in their body and might be mimicking a serious disease like leukemia. It's very, very important. And finally, what did you think of the non-dairy milk options? I eat a lot of goat yogurt, for example. Not cow yogurt, but goat yogurt. And there's a reason for that as we try and teach you here. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, Tuesday and Thursday, live on Facebook, 3 p.m. Central. I think you'll enjoy it. God bless you.